Our today's topic is to explore various database rules in SQL. So generally, we can say that there are many types of SQL database rules. Some of them are predefined rules. We can say that are existing rules which are inbuilt in SQL Server, and the other one is the user-defined rules. So if we talk about predefined rules, we can here check in the security option and under the rules, and here we will see the database rules, and here you can see there are many type of database rules designed, and these are some of the advanced rules, but we will only today look at some of the most prominent rules which are used overall. So you can here see db underscore data reader. So this is a predefined rule which is already mentioned in SQL Server, and this rule is only for that person who can only read the data. So considering reading the data, you only have the select permission. You can't perform any other operations on the data like insert, update, or delete, but you only have to check the data, and you can only check the tables from this rule. Next is we can have db underscore data writer rule. So this role, as the name suggests, is a data writer. You can write the data. That means you have the insert permission. You can insert data. You can insert many rows, but you can't delete or drop the data because here you will require the select permission for deleting and updating the data. And the data writer role doesn't have the select permission. So you can only insert the data. Next, you can see you have db underscore ddl admin rule. So this DDL admin, as the name suggests, DDL admin. So DDL stands for data definition language, and under data definition language, we have create table, alter table, delete table, create views, create procedures. So you have all this permission. So a DDL admin has full rights over the DDL commands, and he can create a new table, drop a table, and also update the table. So these all permissions were granted to DDL admin. And next on the bottom, we can see DB underscore owner rule. So DB underscore owner is the administrator of the whole database. So he have all the required permission. He can create table, he can drop table, he can insert values, he can update values, and he can also delete the table. He can also delete the database. So he have all the required permission. So we will go through all the roles one by one, and then we will go to the user defined rules. So first, let's start with predefined rules. So here I have created a database named db underscore practice. And for using the database, you can manually use this command also. And here I have already selected. So now first let us create a sample table named employee, which have the employee ID as the primary key, first name, last name, department name, and the salary. So let's create this table. And here you can see the table has been successfully created. We can also check the table here after refreshing the database. Under the table section, you can see we have a table named dpo under dot employee. So now we will insert some of the sample data. So here I have written a query which contains 4 rows of data. So let's insert this data, and see the queries has been successfully affected, and now we can query the data. So here we have created a employee table considering its employee ID, first name, last name, department name, and the salary. And now we will look at how we will create the predefined rules. So here first you can check in the left pane of the Object Explorer. Here my name is written Aneesh Addend. So here I am the sole owner of this data SQL server right now. So now I will assign some of the roles to new members. So for this, first we will come across a scenario. For example, let us take we have we are working on a product-based company, and it is a large company, and you have many type of persons who are querying their database. So one is the database administrator. As of now, you can consider me as a database administrator who has all the rights on the database. But now some I have some of the members like for testing team, I want to give them only select permission. So they can only query the data, they can't make any changes. So for that, we will create a data reader role. I want some of the members, they can also query as well as they can update the data. So I can allow them the permission of data owner. So side by side, they can also perform many changes that they want if they find any queries. So in this way, we can allot different type of roles to different type of persons. So let's start first with a data reader role. So for that, first we will need to create a login. So we will create a login in on the server level, that is in the master database. So we will create a login first. And so for creating a login, here we can write a command like create login. So I am creating a test reader role. So the command should be like this. I will write the role name, that is test reader, and I will also need to set the password. So here I can set the password like whatever you wish you can set. I am here setting the password as reader123. Okay. So here this role needs to be created on the server level, that is in the master database. So you can go here and change this to master database, and then you can execute. So this role has been created. For checking, you can go here under the security section of the on the server level, and then you can refresh this logins once, and then you can check you have the role as a test reader. Now we'll come back to our database, that is our db underscore practice, and here I will create a user. So we will create a user for data reader role. So let's create a user, create user, and I will name the user as it is as the login test reader. And this user is created for which login you have to mention. So the command is for create user test reader for login, and I have to here mention the login name. So this was my login name, test reader, and then I'll assign the role. So here the command is alter role, and the role which I mentioned was the data reader role. So this is the predefined role, db underscore data reader, and for this role I will add the member. So you have to add the member and write the member name, that is test reader. So now we will run this command, and you can see the command has been successfully created. So what this command has done, first it has created a login on the server level with a password, and then it has created a user in our database named as test reader, and it has assigned the role of data reader to that member. So now we can test this role. I will here go to the connection. Here you can check the Windows authentication to SQL Server authentication. And here you can write the login name which I have created. That was test reader. And here you can also paste the password. So my password was reader123. And then you can connect. So you can see in the left pane here, I have a new connection named as test reader. So now under the databases, I can go and select my DB practice. And on the table, I have the dbo.employee table here also I have. Now let's select a new query, and we'll check for the permissions which it have. So let's first check for the select permission. Select star from employee. So you can see we have the table. And now if you will run the command, you can see that you are able to check the data. So it successfully created a role which has the permission to read the data. Now, if I want to delete some data, so let's test if it has delete permission or not. Delete from table, where let's take employee ID is equal to 1. So let's check if it has this delete permission or not. So when you will execute, you can see this error message. The delete permission was denied on the object. So this data reader rule does not have the delete permission. It also don't have the update permission. It only has the select permission. So he can only select the data. So like this, I have created a role. So whenever a person which I have assigned a test reader role, he can only query the tables in the database. He can't make any changes or delete any tables, as well as he can also not update any tables. So this is our first role. We can come back to our main query. Now we will create a role for data writer. So let's create, first we also need to create a login as usual. So here let's create a login named test writer and with password. You can set password according to your requirement, and I will here set it as writer 123. And then make sure to change the database to master database before creating a login, because login can only be created on the server level. So now let's execute this. Our login has been successfully created. Then come back and we will create a user for data writer role. Now first change the database to db underscore practice, and let's start creating a user. So create user, and the username I will take it same as for the login name. For login, test right, and then we can alter the role. That is, this command assigns the permission. So I want to give him a data writer permission, and now I will add the member. So my member is test writer. Now you can see I have created this role in my database, and then we will execute. The commands have been successfully created. Now we will test this role. So for this role also we need to connect here. We will go. Now here I will change it to test writer, and then write the password and then connect. So you can see it is connected. Now under the database section, you can go to db underscore practice and select a new query. So I can quit this query now. Yeah. So first we can see it has the select permission or not. So let's check for the select permission for the employees table. And when you will run the command, it says the select permission was denied on the object. It means that you cannot assign the select permission to this table. You only have the insert permission. So for insert, we can similarly take some of the copy from here. So this is our table, insert into employee. Employee ID, you can mention the column names and the data. So last we have the data up to fourth. So we can change it. Let's name is as Matt and the surname as Sean. And then we can change this to DE, and let's here change this command. Yeah, so this. Now we can check it is inserting the values or not. So you can see one row affected. So it has successfully insert the variable, but whenever you will go to check it, it will not allow you to access the table because you don't have the select permission. So you can go back to the owner level, and then you can check if it has successfully inserted the data or not. So here you can see we have added a new row, that is fifth row named Matt, and all the data has been successfully added. The test writer has the insert level permission, and he can insert many more data like this. But let us check it can update or not. So update update table, we can put set. So we can set first name equal to, let's put Andrew. So you need to specify the condition where. So here I can take employee ID equal to 1. So this command says if employee ID is equal to 1, you can update the first name to Andrew. First, let's check what is the first name. For employee ID 1, the first name is John. So it needs to make changes if it has the permission. And if we run this command, it says the select permission was denied still. So you can't update if you don't have the select permission, and as well as you can't drop also. So let's take from delete from employee where employee ID is equal to 1. If I'll perform this command, it will also say you don't have the select permission. So with this, we can see that the data writer has the permission to insert new rows. So this role can only insert the data. It can't query, it can't update, and it can't delete the data. So next we come to the next role, that is the DB underscore owner role. So we'll write the commands for the same. Go through the same steps of creating login first. You can write the command as create login. I will write it as test admin for login test admin, and then I'll create, oh sorry, you need to mention the password first. With password is equal to, here you can put it the password as admin123, and now you can change the database and create this role, then execute. The login has been created, then you can create a user for that login and write the same command which we have mentioned upward. Just you need to change the role to create user. I have named my user as test admin for login test admin. Now I'll alter role DB underscore owner. So this owner has full permissions. It can make any changes to the data. So yeah, let's run this command. See, our user has been created. First, let's disconnect from this. And now we'll go and try to connect for the test admin role. This is test admin and this is admin. Maybe I have written a wrong password. So similarly for this also, we can check what all permissions it have. For that, you can go to database, select your database and select a new query. So disconnecting. Query has not been connected. Connect. So let's here also you can check what all permissions you have. So first we will look at the select permission. but make sure you change your database here to the desired database. I think some issue is there. Let's try to disconnect, then connect it. Sorry, we have here not made the changes to the DB underscore practice, so that was the reason it was not able to access. So now you can execute the rules are created in your database. Then you can go and try to connect this. Now it will work fine. Yeah, so it is connected. You can select a new query, and here you can select all the permissions. First, we will test for the select permission. So you can see it is able to select the data. What we have seen as of now, data reader has only the permission to select the data. It don't have any other permissions. And in data writer rule, we only have the insert permission. We don't have the permission to query the data or update the data or delete the data. But data owner has all the required permissions. We will see one by one. The first permission, it has select permission. It can read the data. Next, it can insert the table. So we can take one portion from here itself. And let's change it to another row. Fix and change it to Johnny. And let consider it the department as IT itself and the salary as 12,000. So now if we will insert this command, you can see it has successfully affected one row. And again, we can check if it has made the changes to the table or not. So yes, as the new entry in our table. So it successfully has two permission. It can select, it can insert. Now we can check if it can update the table or not. So for that, write command update employees. We can set um, the first name as Matt. For the employee ID, where employee ID is equal to 1. So in this command, we have said if employee ID is equal to 1, change the name to Matt. So now we can execute. It has successfully affected the row. Now we can query. And here we can see the first name has been changed from John to Matt. So it also has the update permission. Now let's say it has delete permission or not. So write delete from employee where employee ID is equal to 6. Employee ID is equal to 6. So I want to delete the record where employee ID is equal to 6. Now let's execute and you can see it is successfully executed and we can here check again. So it can, the data has been deleted. So here we have gone through the three rules as of now. DB underscore owner rule, that is the administrator rule. He has all the required permissions for the database. And then we gone through the data writer rule. It has to only insert the data. Insert permission it has, it can only write the data, cannot make any other changes. And first was the data reader rule. So he only has the permission to read the data. That is select permission. Now we will go through the next rule, that is DDL admin. So for that, yeah. So for that, let's create again. We need to follow the same procedure. So I'm copying it here and writing its name as DDL admin. And I'll write here role as DDL admin 123. Make sure to change the database to master level because we are creating a login on server level. Now let's run this command, execute. So login has been created. Now change the database to your database, that is DB practice. For creating user, you need to create a user in your database level. So create user, create the username as same as for login, and change the login as DTL admin. Now alter role to DB underscore. To check the exact name, you can go through here, and here in your database level, DB underscore practice, you can go to the security section and you can go to rules. And under database rules, you will see the full name, DB underscore DTL admin, DTL admin. Yeah. Now you can add the member, and our member was DTL admin. So now if I'll run this command, you can see the rule has been created. You can further go and check here under the user section. If I'll refresh this, you can see DDL admin has appeared here. So the user has been created successfully. Now let's first disconnect from the previous one and try to connect this role. So this role is DDL admin, and it is DDL admin 123. Sorry, I made some changes. Okay, password is wrong. So here the new role has also been connected to our server level. Can go to database under the practice section. We can go to new query. And now here, what we all permissions we have to the DDL admin. As we know, DDL stands for data definition language, and under data definition language, we have the permissions to create table, alter table, and also we can drop the table. We can also create procedure, views, various other things. So we'll test some of the few things, like we can create a new table. So let's test if we can create a new table or not. So create table, let's name it as student table. Okay. And under it, we have the ID of student, that is int. And then we have the name of student, that is, let's take varchar 100. And we can also take another column as address. It is also varchar. So yeah, we can check if it is able to create a new table or not. So yeah, you can see it has successfully created the table. We can query if the table exists or not. So here you can see we have the table. Okay, so what we can see here, the message shows that the select permission was denied. So the DDL admin cannot query the tables. He only has the permission to create the schema of the table or insert the values into table. He cannot query the table. So for querying, we can go back to our owner role, that is myself, and let's check if the table exists or not. Select star from student. You can see the table exists. It is empty as of now, ID, name and address. So let's insert some of the values. So we can take some sample data from here itself, like insert into, okay. So insert into student, and the columns are ID, name and address. Under values, we can insert, let's take ID as one, it is int, and name as Jeff, and the address as India. So here I have inserted one row. Let's insert one more row. And, and let's USA. Let's check if it is able to insert the rows. Insert permission is also not denied. So what we can see, the DDL admin only has the permission to create a schema for the table. For inserting values into that table, you can go to the owner level permission, and that permission and that user can insert the values into that table. So you only can provide the schema for the table. Now let's see if it can alter the table or not. So first we have the table named student where we have three columns. Now let's perform an alter operation on table. So I am here altering table, and under alter table, let's put alter table student, and I will add a new column, add column, and I can put a column for age. And okay, so if this can work or not. Okay, so some syntax error might be there. Alter table student, add column age, and so I think this permission is not allowed here. So we can't modify the existing structure also for this. Let's take if it can drop the table or not. So drop table student, and here you can go and execute. The table has been successfully dropped. To check, we can go to our original database, a user that is owner, and from here check. It says invalid object name student. So the table does not exist anymore. For reference, you can go to the table section and then refresh. So you can see we have only one table dpo.employee. We don't have the student table. So these are the three rules. These are the three predefined rules which we came across. Oh, sorry, four predefined rules which are most prominently used. Now we will go to user defined rules. So let's disconnect this. And now we will go to the user defined rules. So the user defined rules, we can manually assign the permissions. User defined rules. So under the user defined rules, we can manually assign the permissions. So here also first we will need to create rules. So we will create the rules on the database level, and for that rules we need to create logins. And as we went through, the logins need to be created at the server level. So first let's create a role, create role data reader. So what I have created a role, first we have created test. So now we have changed the name to this. So I have created this role. So the role has been created. I can go to my database, and under the security section, I can check here in the refresh under the rules. Yeah. So let's refresh. Okay. So it will not show as of now because we haven't created it login. So first we need to create a login, and then only we can show it. So first we have created the rule. Now let's assign a permission. So I have the employees table. So for data reader, I can assign select permission. So for that, uh, I can write the command as grant select on. So we need to assign the permission on table level. We can't assign permission to database level. So for the manual rules, we need to grant the permission on each table. So here I have dbo.employees table. Yeah, directly I can write also employees. My table name was employee. You can check. Yeah, it is employee table. So I have assigned this permission to data reader. So I have created a role and then assigned a select permission. So since it is data reader, he only needs to read the data. So I can only assign the select permission. So here I have granted select. The permission has been successfully granted to him. Now to further access it, I first need to create a login. So for creating a login, I can again go through the same procedure, create login, data reader with password. Password I can put it as same reader123, or you can also change the password accordingly. Now go to master database. First create this login. Since the login has been created, then come back to your database itself and then create a user for it. Create user, and that username is data reader with password. Oh, sorry, for login. Login name is data reader. Then I can alter the role. Since the role I have only created here named as data reader, so here I can mention the role which I have created, that is data reader. And now I can add the member. You can also change here the username accordingly. You doesn't need to put the same names. Here I am putting it the same names for the convenience so that we don't face any issue as of now. So you can add the member data reader. So now you can run this command and okay, cannot make a role member of itself. Okay, so you need to change this. You need to change. You cannot put the same name again and again here. So let's put AD reader for login and add member AD reader. So yeah, now it has successfully run. Now we can try to log in for this. So my login is data reader. Yes, reader 123. It has successfully logged in. I can close the previous ones. Here commands. Now here also you can go to the database under the db underscore practice. You can go to new query and let's check. I have granted him only the select permission. As you can see, I have here only granted the select permission, so he can only select the database. So let's check if he can select the database or not. So yeah, it is successfully able to select it. It can't perform any other operation because I have only granted him the select permission. As I was the owner of the database, I created a manual rule, a data reader rule where he can only read the data. So I have granted him the select permission. So this is what about select data reader rule. Now let's go to another rule, which is a data writer rule. And for the data writer, we can only insert the data. And for that, I can grant the permission. First, we need to create a role. So let's create a role as data writer. So this role needs to be created in your database only. You can create this role. Then you can grant the permissions, required permissions. So I can grant insert permission. If I need to provide update and delete permission, I need to make sure that it have the select permission, because without the use of select permission, I can't grant him the update and delete permission. So I am not providing him the update and delete permission. I'm only providing the delete insert permission so that he can only add the data. So let's mention the table name on which I want him to insert the data, and then the permission has been granted. The permission has been granted. Now go through the same procedure to create a login. And for that, let's create a login named data writer, and password should be writer123. Okay, make sure change the database to master level because we are creating a login. The login has been successfully created. After the creation of the login, then create a user. I'm creating a user AD writer for login data writer, and then I can alter role. The role name is data writer, and under this role, I'm adding a new member named AD writer. So this member can access the select insert permission, which I have granted to him. So this needs to be created in your database. Make sure you change it, then execute. Now let's try to connect. So it is data writer role, and I have mentioned my password writer 123. See, it is successfully logged in. Now you can go to the database, select a new query, and test the permissions. Since I have not granted him the select permission, you can't perform select operation. Still, we can test it. It says you don't have the permission to select. Now you need to insert. So let's take query from insert from here itself. So insert into employee. You need to mention the column, that is employee ID, first, first name, last name, and other two columns. Let's check what are the other two columns that are department and salary. Department and salary. Now let's insert a values. So till now we have 5. So let's take it a new value. That is 6 is the depart employee ID. First name should be Mick. Let's take to Addend. Perform some. The department should be DE, and its salary is 11,000.06. This is in decimal, so you need to make sure you put the correct data type. Otherwise, you will face errors. Now let's try to insert it. It has successfully inserted. Still, we can't query and check it is inserted or not because we don't have the permission. So we need to go back to the owner level, and then you can check. Here is the new entry, and the new row has been added successfully. In this way, you can grant the permission to data writer also. Now let's check for another rule, and that is our admin level role. So for admin level role, you need to grant full control. First, let's create a role name. So let's create a role, and its name is, let's say, admin. So data admin, I can say. So I have created this role, and now let's execute. The data admin role has been created. Now you need to grant permission. So I will grant full control. Grant control on the table name. You should mention which table you grant the control. So it is employee, and I'm granting this to data admin. Let's run this command. Full control has been granted. After providing the permission, you can again create a login for a user. Create login data admin with password equal to admin 1234. Okay, now create this login into master database and create here. After that, you need to create a user ADMIN 123. Let's take this name for login data admin. Now I need to alter the role. That is, my role name was data admin, and I am adding the member admin 123. Okay, so this needs to be done in your database. Go and done it, and then execute. It is successfully completed. Now you can go try to connect it, and you will see that after entering your credentials, username, and password, you are successfully able to connect. Then go to database, select your database and a new query, and perform all the operations. So what all operations we have performed in the admin table, we can perform all the operations here also. First, let's go through and try to see if it has select permission or not from employee. So yeah, you have the select permission. Now you can check you have insert permission or not. So you can go and perform an operation. Let's add a new row. Adams, and this is cook. Let's take a T and let's here also change something. So we are good enough and then execute. One row has been affected. You can see a new row has been added. So this data admin can select the data, read the data, insert the data. He can also update the data. So you can see update, mention the table name, that what you want to update. So let's say I want to update department. So I want to update department is equal to HR. And for whom I want to update, I need to mention. So here I'm providing the condition where employee ID should be equal to 7. So I'm updating the department for employee ID 7, that is Adams. The department should update from DA to HR. So let's update, and you can see the row has been affected. Now we can check the department has been successfully updated. So as of now, we can see the update permission is also granted for this user. Now let's see it can delete or not. Delete from employees table. I want to delete the record for employee ID 7. So if I will execute, it is successfully executed. And now you can go to select and you can see the row has been deleted. So we have gone through all the important rules which are present in the database. We have gone through first the predefined rules, that are data reader rules, data writer rules, data owner rules, and then DDL admin rules. And then we have also gone through the user defined rules. I have created a manual rule, granted manually the permissions, what I want them to perform, and then I have checked for the permissions. So this is the whole session on the various types of database rules and the prominent rules which are used in the industry for this various project levels. So if you guys have any doubt, you can ask any questions.
हेलो।
Yes.
अनीश, एक डाउट था कि जैसे कि मल्टीपल हर बार हम जब एक यूज़र बना रहे हैं तो उसका एक लॉगिन बना रहे हैं, तो क्या सिंगल लॉगिन
हाँ।
से हम मल्टीपल एक्सेस दे सकते हैं डिफरेंट एक ही यूज़र को?
नहीं, ये इफेक्टिव प्रोसेस नहीं है और ना ही हम इस तरीके से कर सकते, क्योंकि जो डेटाबेस होता है या डेटा वेयरहाउस होता है बहुत एक क्रिटिकल हमारा एरिया है। जहाँ पे हमारा कंप्लीट एक इंडस्ट्री कंपनी का पूरा एक डेटा स्टोर होता है। तो वहाँ पे हम सिंगल लॉगिन से मैनुअल रोल्स नहीं बना सकते, हमको एक एक बंदे के लिए उसको जो परमिशन देनी है वो असाइन करनी पड़ेगी, उसके लिए एक सिंगल लॉगिन क्रिएट करना पड़ेगा। यू कैन क्रिएट एज मेनी लॉगिन एज यू वांट, बिकॉज वहाँ पे जब हम लॉगिन क्रिएट करते हैं तो हम मैनुअली वहाँ पे उस बंदे का नाम दे सकते हैं। जैसे तुम्हारे लिए एक रोल बना है जय के लिए, तो हम वहाँ पे मेंशन कर सकते हैं कि ये जय है, इसको मैंने डेटा राइटर का रोल दिया है और ये मेंबर मैंने ऐड कर दिया। तो अब जय के पास ये रोल होगा कि वो डेटा राइटर की परमिशंस कर सकता है। इसी तरीके से हमको अलग अलग लॉगिन्स ही क्रिएट करने पड़ेंगे वहाँ।
अच्छा, तो मतलब कि जैसे कि किसी एक पर्टिकुलर मतलब कि ऐसे कि जैसे कि मेरे को राइटर का रोल मिला है किसी पर्टिकुलर एक
हम्म।
टेबल के ऊपर, बट
ओके।
सिमिलरली एट द सेम टाइम मुझे किसी और टेबल को रीड भी करना है, तो उसके लिए अलग से रोल बनाना
रीड करना
पड़ेगा,
है
अलग से
उसके
लॉगिन
लिए एक
बनाना।
अलग से रोल बनाना पड़ेगा। अब जैसे तुमको इंसर्ट राइटर का रोल भी चाहिए और रीड का रोल भी चाहिए, तो
बट
उसके लिए
डिफरेंट
मैं
टेबल
तुमको
पे।
फुल कंट्रोल दे सकता हूँ, एक मैनुअल रोल बना सकता हूँ और वहाँ पे फुल कंट्रोल दे सकता हूँ, या फिर मैनुअली परमिशन दे सकता हूँ। वहाँ पे जो अभी मैंने मैनुअल रोल बताया था वहाँ
हम्म।
पे मैं तुमको सिलेक्ट और इंसर्ट की परमिशन दे दूंगा अलग अलग टेबल्स पे। मैं वहाँ पे दे सकता हूँ सिलेक्ट की परमिशन दे देता हूँ एम्प्लॉय टेबल पे, और इंसर्ट की परमिशन दे दूंगा एक स्टूडेंट टेबल। तो तुम इंसर्ट कर सकते हो स्टूडेंट टेबल पे और सिलेक्ट कर सकते हो एम्प्लॉय टेबल।
ओके।
एक ही लॉगिन में हो जाएगा वो।
ओके।
वो
और
उसके लिए
ये
हमको मैनुअल रोल्स यूज करना पड़ेंगे।
ठीक है, ये जो रोल्स अपन बनाते हैं ये इन पे एक्सेस जब हम दे रहे हैं तो टेबल्स पे दे रहे हैं, तो ऐसा कोई रोल
हम्म।
नहीं है जो पूरे डेटाबेस को एक्सेस दे सके किसी को?
डेटाबेस को एक्सेस देने के लिए हमारे पास वो था यूजर डिफाइंड रोल, जो हमने सॉरी प्री डिफाइंड जो रोल्स थे उसमें
हाँ,
डीबी ओनर का रोल होता है। जो डीबी ओनर का रोल है वो पूरे डेटाबेस का एक्सेस है, उसमें कितनी भी टेबल्स पे तुम एक्सेस कर सकते
तो इस रोल को मैन्युअली कोडिंग से क्रिएट कर सकते हैं, मतलब कि किसी और के लिए?
हो। मैनुअली भी क्रिएट कर सकते हैं आप, फुल कंट्रोल वाला जो रोल मैंने अभी बताया उसको फुल कंट्रोल
हाँ।
ग्रांट कर दो। लेकिन बेसिकली ये होता है कि जो मैनुअल रोल्स होते हैं वो हमको डेट पर्टिकुलर टेबल्स पे देने होते हैं। मेजरली हम टेबल्स पे असाइन करते हैं। और जो प्री डिफाइंड रोल्स होते हैं जैसे डीबी अंडरस्कोर ओनर का जो रोल हमने देखा था, वो एक डेटाबेस लेवल का रोल है। वो तुम जिस डेटाबेस पे दोगे उसमें जितनी भी टेबल्स है सब पे एक्सेस रहेगा तुमको।
ओके, थैंक यू।
एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस? If no questions, then we can wrap up this session. Thank you guys for joining this meeting. Have a good day.
Thank you, Anuj.
Bye.
Thank you, Anish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, inside there are